heartbreaking to see him go to drop in the group stages once again, where it's like this guy has yet to have a breakout tournament performance to win something. And a lot of people who've been watching his stream and following his legend runs also want to see him do well here.
Yeah, so just going back to Lord Draxus, how do you think it matches up against Alexstrasza? Because they're kind of the same thing in that they bring your life total to 15, but you know, they occupy the same slot. You never see people running both of them, but sometimes you see Alexstrasza, sometimes you see Draxus, sometimes you see nothing. How do you think they match up against each other?
I personally like Draxus a little bit more because winning with him is slightly more satisfying. But and also because I feel like a lot of times Alexstrasza feels just like an 8-mana or 9-mana giant in a lot of cases. Handlock can whittle your opponent down, and a lot of times the damage done offensively by Alexstrasza is kind of negligible, and then healing yourself up is kind of the same impact anyways. But I do recognize the opportunity you get with Alexstrasza to put your opponent within Leroy range of combos, so I'm not against it, but I personally like Draxus. I think it's just a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here we go.
I haven't actually tried the deck with Draxus. I'll probably have to.
Oh, you must. And if I encourage you to try one, you should do it in a Void Caller deck, because it is just awesome if for some reason the Void Caller dies and you have a 3/15 on the field.
Yeah, that seems pretty interesting. Pretty hard to beat if you manage to taunt it up.
No 4-mana cost minion for Firebat. This is pretty bad to have a lot of passivity against a Miracle Rogue player.
Yeah, though the Miracle Rogue player is also not doing anything. I mean, he's a 22 already from like hero powers and stuff, but
ooh, chooses to go for Lotheb. Meanwhile, he's got a lot of cheap spells they can combine and make his opponent's life difficult.
He can guarantee, you know, he can play all those 5 spells the turn he plays the Actioneer. So even if he doesn't have Conceal, he guarantees it. Ooh, that was good. Guarantees a bunch of card drawing.
Sure. You get a backstab. You get a backstab. Alright. Viscerate. Or Shiv to draw more cards as well. All
Shiv
is
wants
possible.
To finish it off with the dagger. Yes. Yeah. He can also Shadow Stab back his own Actioneer if he feels like he hasn't drawn enough cards this turn.
Here we go.
Which...
Yeah, but he's got a couple of cards I can cycle through, but that's always one of the big debates that Miracle players kind of struggle with. Firebat picks up the Mountain Giant though, and now he can kind of answer the Auctioneer as well, so this is starting to kind of shore up here for him.
Yeah, I wonder if the Lotheb should have attacked the 5/4 just to prevent Shadow Flame from happening. Because clearly his plan is to next turn eviscerate the 5/4 and then attack with Lotheb, but that leaves him vulnerable to a Shadow Flame, which, you know, Firebat does have. It might not play this turn because he wants to play the Giant, but...
Does he? I mean, he's hesitating. I feel like putting out a Giant is usually preferable, but is there an alternative play that we're not seeing because the Giant blinded us? I don't think so, but maybe there's something else.
I like Shadow Flame a little bit more, honestly. Oh, yeah, that is good too. You know, he gets to kill, Soulfire the Actioneer and kill the... Yeah, so he gets to read the board anyway. That is probably better than just playing Shadow Flame here.
Does lose a Shenzhen, which can be kind of painful considering that it's one of your taunters to be able to survive against Leroy Burst. But Handlock's at 17, and there's 2 Eviscerates and a Sinister Strike. So that's 14 damage. Right. Not to mention there's also cards like Blade Flurry in the deck as well. And SI7 can even go to the face. So there's a lot of damage that Xixo has. He has to plan this out. Make sure he can kind of maximize everything. Also on the flip side, his opponent just used Power Overwhelming, so his opponent and Soulfire. So his opponent's burst is also contracted a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, chooses to go for the more passive controlish play. You know, probably means his just trying to win with Leroy here, which is tough against Handlock.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it's just a dream to go off with spells, and if you had infinite mana, you could lethal him. The realistic point is that he might have Faceless, he might have more ways to follow us up, and you would be sitting at 20 health, or lower than 20 health here, and then just be at a impossible wall to kill through. So Xixo just goes for removal. It's the safer play, and I don't blame him for it whatsoever.
But how are you gonna win now?
The same way you always win every night, Pinky. Try and use Leroy and Shadow Step.
Yeah, I guess he does still have 2 saps in his deck. I think he has to. I mean, oh, there's one.
Well, see what you pick up with Azure Drake. You even have a little bit of spell power to AoE.
Yeah, he might be holding that for a turn where he can play, you know, Fin of Knives and Sinister Strike, but feels like it's just better to use him now.
Oh, alright, well, still no possibility to pick up something like Blade Flurry, but at least now, Sludge Belcher has been appropriately disposed of. Tossed in the dumpster. Recycled, so that way he's not any more toxic pollution.
Yeah, and importantly, he still keeps his sap. So, you know, if he does draw a Leroy.
Firebat still has Lotheb, which the timing of Lotheb might be critical in how he kind of fights back against potential lethal. Leroy looks like it's gonna go for a Shadow Flame play. And try to clear his opponent's board. But still, it's like a situation where if Xixo pairs together the right cards, he could still win this.
Yeah, I mean, he would have won if he had drawn Leroy. He can Leroy, Shadow Step, Sap, Sinister Strike, that's 15.
Right. I mean, at this stage, Firebat's kind of worried about how he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, he probably... Is he Hellfire Mortal Coil Giant here? Nope. Okay.
Alright, well, he's going to do what he can to start fighting back for board position.
At the expense of a lot of life. But yeah. I mean, he knows next turn he can play, you know, assuming Xixo hits him for a lot, he can just play Molten Giant, copy Molten Giant, and play some Fury Protect. Well, get 3 big taunt guys.
Hey.
By playing Molten Giant, some Fury, and then copying the taunt Molten Giant.
Oh my. Xixo saying it's Leroy or bust still.
Yeah. Doesn't give him the chance to, you know, play 2 taunted Giants here. By leaving him at a higher life total. Did draw out to shrink the Van Cliff, but it was not that big to begin with.
Yeah, it's basically deal 2 damage. Not really that effective. So, are you gonna try to go for more of the assumption your opponent doesn't have Leroy by now, and then you can play like Twilight Drake back again, and then the Siphon Soul, or do you feel like there's an onus to pressure with something like Molten Giant and Taunt, and then feel like you just leave it up to whether or not your opponent has second sap?
I think I like the Siphon Soul play here. Because even if your opponent has Leroy, he has to have 2 Shadow Steps to kill you.
Okay, Drake first, so you get the extra health.
Yeah. It does make it a little bit harder to cast your Molten Giant, but at the same time, you know, that's because you're at a high life total, so definitely worth it.
Alright, well, it might be time to cycle out this Blood Mage for Xixo.
Yeah.
Try to draw Leroy. It's basically come down to this, where he's at an impasse.
Conceal the Blood Mage.
Oh, man. You attack into your opponent with Deadly Poison? Do you leave it up in case you have Blade Flurry? These are all like these small micro decisions where it's like kind of impossible to always be 100% sure, but it does come down to experience on, and as well as playing the percentages on how many cards are left in your deck.
Yeah, but now Firebat will have access to 2 taunt minions, and he only has 1 sap left in his deck.
Ah, you're right.
So even if he does draw Leroy, that won't be enough.
So many possibilities.
He does draw large Draxes, but I don't think they'll be making an appearance.
Shields up.
I mean, maybe if Xixo tries to YOLO, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. SI7 agent is not it. And Xixo might have to trade in. He sees a Molten Giant, so he's inclined to play Sinister Strike a little bit quicker, because it's not like there's... I mean, he probably doesn't have a second Molten Giant.
Yeah, and even if he does, you know, it's turn 10. How likely is that to matter?
Blade Flurry? Hold on. Ah, he needed that spell power, though,
Here
from...
we go.
Yeah, why
need
is
that
the
spell
Sinister
power.
Strike still blinking?
Ah, it's just, you know, Hearthstone teasing you, saying, look what you could have had.
This guy's toast.
Okay, that was good. That was a very good turn. As you know, as far as things go, he managed to
good
still
as
live
good
himself.
can get. Soulfire off the top, though, is lethal for Firebat, and he knows this, so there's a way for him to kind of get the damage necessary.
Okay, that's probably
Wow.
game. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is devastating. Xixo has no way from this point on, I think. But he has Gadgeted Auctioneer, only a few cards remaining in his deck. I can't think of any other threats, though.
No,
that
it
would
won't be
actually
enough.
seriously do anything.
Almost out of cards.
But I like how he played this game.
Yeah.
You know, he gave himself the best chance to win when the game seemed overwhelmingly against him.
Well, when Leroy is in the last 2 or 3 cards of your deck, this is kind of what happens if you make your game plan oriented around him as a finisher. Firebat will go up